today's lesson is going to be how to make a 3-stranded headband with a flower that is attached to the side. And your hairband ties at the back with a knot or a bow. The headband by itself is a great beginner's project as it only uses a chain and a slip stitch. You'll need a bit more experience to make the flower. What we're going to do is make a chain that fits from the back of your head all the way around down to the other side, and long enough to tie at the back. Starting with our slip knot, holding a short piece between our fingers, wrapping the yarn over our pointy finger twice, holding it down at the bottom, grabbing the left one, pulling over, wrapping it over again, grabbing the left one, pulling up and over, and dropping it down, pushing up your finger. You've created your slip knot. Now we can use a chain for our headband, or you can use the I-cord, and I will put a link in the video so that you can use the I-cord as well. The I-cord is a lot thicker than the chain, so depending on the look you want, it depends on what you're going to use. So we're just going to make the chain as long as we need it so that it goes around our head where we would wear our headband, and then long enough to tie at the back. The length I needed it to go around my head was 55 centimeters, and my chain is 60, 70, is 90 centimeters. So you have to add quite a fair bit. And this 90 centimeters is quite long, but you need it enough to go around your head and then be able to tie in a bow, and the bow to be able to stay there without coming undone. And I think when we slip stitch back across, it's going to shrink a little bit, so you need that bit of extra length. So what we need to do now, once you've got your chain long enough, we're going to slip stitch along, going into the second chain from the hook. So not the first one that's on our hook, we don't count that one. This is number 1 and this is number 2. So slip stitching across. And what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch enough so that it's going to be the tail that when we tie our bow, this is going to be the bit where we tie it up. So you might have to sort of slip stitch across and then practice tying it up behind your head, making sure that this big thick piece is where we tie our bow. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit off, but we just want this little thick piece, because we are going to be joining the next part of our hairband onto this as well. So we just keep going. Now I'm going to try 6 inches and then see if that's long enough. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it on your head, and you're going to put it where a hairband would go. Sorry about the angle, it's hard to get it all in the camera. And you're going to tie it at the back of your head. Now this head's a bit smaller than mine, and when I tie it in a knot, it actually comes to where I finished off my slip stitches here. So I'm coming along, slip stitching across, and there is just about where it ties in a knot, and that's what you want to do. Now if you want to put 2 strands on your headband, you will continue on now. If you don't, you're going to cut off your yarn and then pull the loop out and then sew in your ends. And then go to the other end of your chain, join your yarn and make your slip stitches across so that it measures the same as there. But this is for the 2-stranded headband. Once you have your piece slip stitched across and long enough, we are going to make a chain. So we're just continuing on making our chain. And what we are going to do is keep making our chain and what we want it to do. So we've got our second strand coming up here, and we're just chaining across. What we want to do is grab the other end of our chain and just measure how far it is until we stop doing our slip stitch. So it's there, and we just want to place a stitch marker. I've just got one here that's the same colour. So grabbing our two ends, measuring along where we stop slip stitching, or you can count the chains, up to you if you want it to be absolutely perfect. So we have our stitch marker in. So when we lay this down, that's where we started to do our second piece. We're just going to lay it down next to each other, and we need to keep chaining until we get to it to be the same length as this one where our stitch marker is. So this is the start, where we did our slip stitches and started our chain, and I'm just holding them together until we get to our stitch marker, which is here. So I just need to do about 4 more chains. You could count how many chains you need to do, but as long as they're about the same length, I'm thinking that's pretty good. So now, where our stitch marker is, we want to slip stitch into that chain. So just pulling out our stitch marker, going into that space. We want to make a slip stitch. And now we want to slip stitch till the end of our chain. So I've just slip stitched across until I get to my last chain. Now if you only wanted 2 strands on your headband, you can finish off now. If not, I'm going to put 3 on this one. So I'm going to spin my work around, and we're going to be working back along this chain here. So we're going into the next stitch and doing our slip stitch, and it just doesn't want to play the game, does it, at the moment? There we go. So just working into that stitch with a slip stitch, and we're going to be slip stitching across until we get to where the headband starts to split, so up to here. Okay, so I've slip stitched back along, and I'm now up to here, and we're going to make our chain in the same manner that we did before. So just keep chaining until it is long enough, until we come to here. So it's long enough to reach to there. So just making sure that our chain is, oopsie days, the right length. Yep, we want it to join here so it's the right length. So what we're going to do now is slip stitch to the top, and you might want to make sure that it's not twisted. So lay down your, it's hard to fit this all in the screen, lay down your headband so that they are separated, and then go across So now we know we need to slip stitch on this side. If we slip stitch on that side, it's all going to be twisted up. So we're going to be slip stitching and joining it into here. So going into our stitch, it's a bit hard to go into because it's a slip stitch and it's been slippery. There we go. And working our slip stitch, just making sure again that they're not twisted. Great, mine's not twisted. We'll carry on. And we're just going to slip stitch into each slip stitch across. This project is perfect for beginners because you are only using a slip stitch and a chain stitch, which is the very first things that you learn. So great for practicing, just for making this headband. The flower maybe not so much for a beginner, but there are plenty of patterns for beginners for flowers, and I do have some myself, so make sure you check them out too. You can add anything to this headband. You could have it by itself, you could add a flower, you could add a bow, you could add anything you want. If it's Christmas time, you could, I don't know, there's a crocheted Santa pattern. You can make crocheted food, like a cupcake or a biscuit. I'm sure you can have some really far out ideas on what you would want to attach to your headband. So we're just going to slip stitch across. Oh, there's a fly, go away. And then stop when we get to the end of our chain. There we go, we're up to the end. Now you can add as many strands to this headband as you like, of course, but I'm going to stop at 3. So we're going to be grabbing our scissors, chopping off our tail, pulling up, and then we're going to grab a needle and drop our crochet hook on the floor. No, not really, that's what I just did by accident. And then we're just going to sew this and just go in and out on this one. So just weave it in and out of our stitches. Making sure we don't pull it tight so it gathers up. Leave it in for about 2 inches, that's my rule. Go for about 2 inches. And then snipping off. And then doing the same for the other side. So now we have the 3-stranded headband. And it ties up at the back. So a pretty good, easy beginner's project. And I hope you like my video and have a great day.